Hi, my name's Steve Deeks. I'll be your instructor for the MSA approved racing school course. In this video, we'll look at all the areas required to pass your National B racing licence. We're going to focus on track technique and classroom theory. So climb aboard, join me.
Motor racing must be one of the most exhilarating experiences in the world. High speed, high tech and glamorous. By applying for the Go Racing Pack, you've taken the first steps to obtaining your National B race licence and getting out onto the track. So what do you do next? Well, within the pack is your race licence application form and a list of approved racing schools. Make contact with the one that you want to go to, and remember that when you attend the Association of Racing Drivers Schools course, also known as Ards, you will need to bring your race licence application form with a medical certificate section completed. The school will inspect this, and if it is not in order, nothing further can be done on that day. If you are 16 or over and have been competing in a kart for at least 12 months and have obtained 6 signatures on your kart competition licence, you may attend an ARDS school with a view to obtaining a race licence. But if you are under 18, you must have parental approval.
Well, good morning.
At the racing school, your instructor will cover the driving techniques, safety instruction and the rules that you have to learn in order to pass. The school will then supply you with a helmet before you take to the track, where your driving will be assessed with an emphasis on correct technique and an application of the classroom teaching, not speed. Upon returning to the admin centre, you will have to take a written exam. You pass the exam by getting 65% or better in both the written test and your driving assessment. Passing alone is not necessarily enough. Approval from the school's senior instructor is still required. It may all sound a bit daunting, but don't worry. Later in part 1 of the video, we'll cover all the points you need to learn to pass. Plus, nearly all the information can be found in your MSA yearbook, or the Blue Book as it is more commonly known. This is a complete compendium of regulations, procedures and technical details of all UK motorsport. It is also the reference book used by officials and race organisers when settling a dispute. So as a competitor, it is vital that you have a good working knowledge of the sections that apply to you when you start racing. Once you have successfully completed the ARDS course, you will be able to apply for your first race licence, which will qualify you to race anywhere in the UK. In order to be successful in motorsport, it is important to have some knowledge of how the world of motor racing is run. Worldwide administration is carried out by the FIA, the Fédération Internationale Automobile, which in turn gives national authority to a motor club to administer the sport in that country. In the United Kingdom, that body is the MSA, or Motorsports Association. The MSA administer rules and regulations authorised by the Motorsports Council, which covers all aspects of four-wheel motorsport. It may seem like a lot of organisation, but there's probably no other governing body in the world which provides a degree of control which motorsport requires over a huge range of activities, from karting through to Formula One.
Before a racing driver gets anywhere near the racetrack, they had better be pretty well dressed. And that means high quality racewear, such as we see here. Perhaps the most important item the driver should consider is the crash helmet. This one's a particularly good Nomex and Kevlar construction with a fireproof lining and a 4mm Lexan visor. Next up is the suit. This one is a 3-layer Nomex, and you should check that it has the correct labels. What's more, those two items should be supplemented with a pair of suede and Nomex driver's gloves for maximum feel, and in the cockpit also working the pedals, these Nomex and suede driver's boots. These will give optimum control. A sensible driver would invest in some Nomex fireproof underwear. Now, all of this race kit is very expensive, but of course it could save your life. So don't scrimp, buy the very best you can afford. To get the most out of your car on the racetrack requires that you get your driving position spot on. Contrary to popular belief, this does not mean sitting in a classic Stirling Moss position with the arms locked out straight. But actually, on the racetrack, we sit upright, shoulders supported, and the hands go in the wheel on a 10-2 or 1/4-3 position from which we don't vary. You see, on the racetrack, when we take a tight corner, we actually cross our arms up. But before you go anywhere near the racetrack, clearly you have to familiarise yourself with the car. You need to know where all the controls are, what they do, the gearbox, the pattern, and your pedal layout. Without that, you're never going to make it out there on the circuit.
There's more to driving a racing car than just pressing a few pedals and turning the steering wheel. Seat-of-the-pants instinct will take you so far, but intellect will take you further. Watch a pro at work and you'll see that they are focused on the job in hand long before the car ever turns a wheel in anger. Mental focus is one thing, but what about physical fitness? Well, while you don't have to be an Olympic athlete, Michael Schumacher has proved the merits of being the fittest driver of his generation. Even as a club racer, you can stack the odds in your favour by making sure you are in tip-top physical condition. MSA rules cover pit discipline. Make sure you are conversant with them. The clerk of the course will take a dim view of reckless or incompetent driving in the pits. When you want to come in off the track, make it obvious to other competitors by signalling your intentions clearly and early using either a raised hand or indicator. Pit stops have become an integral part of today's motorsport, whether by design or by default. A good knowledge of pit lane discipline is vital for both safety and performance. A lack of knowledge here may result in damage to your car or injury to yourself, your team, or other pit personnel or competitors. Every pit lane is different, and a skilled competitor will familiarise themselves with the rules and procedures for that particular circuit. Generally, this will involve a controlled exit from the pit lane and a smooth acceleration to blend in with other traffic already on the circuit. The operation of the pit lane exit is the responsibility of race control. They will communicate with the driver via either a lighting system at the pit lane exit or via a safety marshal with a radio, who will either replace or supplement the lights with red and green flags. Once past the control, it is the driver's responsibility to accelerate smoothly and swiftly to racing speed to blend with circuit traffic. Despite race control's instructions, the onus is still very much on the driver to check his track position to avoid causing an unnecessary incident on rejoining the circuit. Remember, a moment of recklessness in the pit lane can earn you a license endorsement, a fine, or even exclusion from the race. There is also the added risk of fire in the pit, so organisers and race officials are necessarily strict about pit lane discipline. On circuit, you should strive to perfect technique. This involves positioning your car on the approach to the corner, progressive braking, a well-timed synchronized gear changing, and accurate turn-in, apex, and exit points. Controlling entry speed is critical because you must be able to get your car turned in precisely, enabling you to accurately clip the apex of the corner. This will allow you to feed on power as early in the corner as is possible. The net result will be a reduction in your lap times. The preferred method of downshifting is the heel and toe technique. This involves matching engine speed with the speed of the road wheels in the selected lower gear so that when you release the clutch, you are not subject to driveline snatch, throwing weight forward. Let's take another look at the technique. Here the driver is seen controlling both brake and accelerator with the ball of the right foot, the throttle being blipped to synchronise with the movement of the gear lever. Unless heel and toe is deployed, you will be at a disadvantage, especially in the wet. The key area of technique that most novices fail to master is not looking far enough ahead through corners. The pro develops the art of sighting a corner, i.e. looking well beyond the next point of reference. Sighting will dramatically improve your lines and has the added and not inconsiderable advantage of making you less likely to become entangled in somebody else's accident. Of course, driving on the limit involves a certain amount of overstepping it, and this can result in you having to cope with a number of differing handling imbalances, often several times on a single lap. Two terms with which you will quickly become familiar are under and oversteer. You will need to know how to recognise these characteristics and react to them. Your ability to handle a sliding car will limit your ultimate potential. Your approach to a corner is critical. Locking up under braking can destabilise your car and provoke loss of control. Plus, it can lead to entering the corner too quickly at the turning point, promoting the handling characteristic known as understeer. This is obvious in this Caterham sports car as the front wheels are describing a tighter radius than the car itself is able to take. Understeer leads to a car running out of road, and the way to correct the slide is to reduce both throttle and steering input. Oversteer, on the other hand, is a situation where the rear wheels give up their grip. The driver must have their wits about them. Only speed of correction will prevent oversteer developing into a spin. Opposite lock should be applied in the direction of the slide, matched with either a reduction or application of throttle, depending on which triggered the oversteer. Here we see the driver synchronising the angle of tail slide with steering lock, and when the slide has been checked, winding off the opposite lock to avoid an overcorrection. Car control is a skill that can only be developed with practice, but beware, it can prove an expensive skill to master. The trick is to always look in the direction you want to be going, regardless of where the bonnet of your car is pointing. If you look off the track, that's where you will drive. Another problem you will encounter is being forced off the racing line, either by circumstance or another competitor. This is hazardous as grip levels are considerably reduced by small pieces of tyre rubber swept offline. Obviously, braking distances have to be amended, as will the point at which power can be reapplied. Failure to make allowances may mean loss of control, and even if you don't spin or crash, it will lead to a loss of momentum and hard-won race places. You may have to move offline to instigate an overtaking manoeuvre. For this reason, you must be decisive and try to complete your pass before entering the corner. In this BTCC incident, neither driver made the finish as a result of over-assertive driving. In club racing, you will win yourself no friends driving in this fashion, and may even find yourself excluded from your championship. A clean overtaking manoeuvre is put together as a result of a fast exit out of a preceding corner. Extra momentum gained by good technique is put to use in this clean, fair passing manoeuvre. Leaving once braking and possibly late, however, is no guarantee of being able to claw back time on the well-driven car of another competitor. In fact, outbraking yourself is one quick way to exit the race. If you leave the circuit as a result of being forced off by another competitor or because of a driving error, there are certain actions you need to take in order to remain in control. Don't brake, ease back on the throttle, hold the steering wheel with a very light grip, and gently nudge your car back onto the circuit. Your objective should be to establish a high-speed rhythm. As the mechanics of race car control become second nature, you will gradually become more at one with your machine. Only experience can develop this, there are no shortcuts. To achieve this rhythm, you should consciously be very smooth with all control inputs, making seamless transitions from accelerator to brakes and back. If you are harsher than is necessary, you will unbalance your car and lower the speed at which the limit is reached. This applies equally to your steering and your gear-changing technique. The components of speed are smoothness, accuracy and consistency. If you concentrate on mastering these aspects of your driving, speed will naturally flow. If, on the other hand, you try to force the pace, you will tend to make more errors. Watch any top driver in action, and you cannot fail to pick up on this quality, a mastery of the component elements of speed. Typically, as a novice, you will tend to overreact to situations, frequently triggering incidents that are more serious than the initial problem that you may have been trying to correct. Clearly, in the early stages of your career, you must respect your personal limits. Lessons learnt in this way can be expensive and potentially painful. Whilst not needing to be an engineer to be a racer, you do need a basic understanding of chassis dynamics to make your car work for you. Weight transfer can totally alter the way a car handles on the approach to and through a corner. Weight over the front wheels helps turn in and it promotes oversteer. Weight over the rear axle leads to understeer. As your experience level increases, you will exploit these dynamic properties to your advantage. Having chosen to race in the United Kingdom, there is at least one certainty concerning your racing career: you are going to get wet. Mastering and even enjoying a wet track can give you an edge over your opposition. Rain creates a unique set of challenges, the key one of which is visibility, closely followed by loss of grip and traction. Many circuits have an advantageous wet line, where because of drainage, track camber or rubber deposits, your normal dry line is no longer the quickest. As the circuit begins to dry, you will find it at its most treacherous, with sudden destabilising changes in grip. In this situation, the fastest time will come from seeking out the driest line, and this can change lap after lap. So far, we've looked at understeer and oversteer, both counterproductive states. Clearly, a car being driven on the limit is sliding though, in a handling state where it is neither under nor oversteering, but all four wheels are drifting, and by the same amount. This productive state is difficult for a novice to achieve, and it's referred to as the four-wheel drift. This is clearly illustrated here by a Formula Ford. The front wheels of this car are parallel to the rears, but the car is not just travelling forward, it is also sliding out from the apex in a controlled manner. Finally, a study of trackcraft would be incomplete without a look at the spin, because yes, even when you've lost control, you still have work to do. Damage limitation is the key. When you pass the point of no return, you should remember, brake and declutch. Flag signals will be used throughout your racing career. They are the one discipline you will find more or less constant worldwide. Understanding their meaning forms an important part of any racing driver's knowledge, and you will be tested on the flags in the exam paper. So let's take a look at all the flag signals along with their track positions.
The national flag. This may be used in the event of start light failure to signify the start of a race. Blue flag stationary. Another competitor is following close behind. Blue flag waved. A faster competitor is trying to overtake. And it should be noted that at this point, novice drivers should be looking in their mirrors. White flag. This indicates a slow-moving vehicle, such as the ambulance, is on track. The white flag will be waved when the driver comes upon the part of the track the ambulance or slow-moving vehicle is on. Yellow flag, held stationary, danger. Drivers must slow down sufficiently to retain full control of the vehicle. And also, there's no overtaking. Yellow flag waved, great danger. Be prepared to take evasive action and deviate from racing line. Still, no overtaking.
The signal may be supplemented by flashing yellow lights, which have the same meaning. Hazard boards will warn of a hazard that was not present when the practice or race commenced.
Yellow flag with red stripes. This indicates there is a slippery surface ahead. Yellow flag with red stripes waved indicates the slippery surface is imminent. The green flag signifies all clear at the end of a danger area controlled by yellows, and also signifies the start of a formation lap, but not the start of a race. This flag will also be shown at all marshals' posts on the warm-up lap. Red flag. There's been a serious incident. At this point, all cars should slow down, cease racing, no overtaking, and indeed be prepared to stop on the track if it's blocked. Marshals will signal the cars back to either the start line or the pit lane. yellow and black quartered flag. This may be introduced by the clerk of the course following a serious accident. And when this comes out over the start-finishing line, it has the effect of making the lead car the pace car. All competitors must line up behind the lead car, which will travel at a speed of approximately 50 miles an hour or 80 kilometers per hour, and racing will not restart until the green flag is reshown at the start-finish line. During the yellow and black quartered flag period, the race is effectively neutralized and there must be no overtaking. Black flag with an orange disc displayed with driver's number. This means the driver has an apparent mechanical problem or fire and should call in at the pits on the next lap. Black and white diagonal flag displayed with the driver's number. This is a warning to the driver that their behavior is suspect and they may be black flagged on further reports. Black flag with number displayed. This means that the driver concerned must stop at his pit within 1 lap and report to the clerk of the course. Checkered flag, the end of the race or practice. Usually waved at the winner and held stationary for all subsequent competitors.
As you can see, there is a lot to remember. Learning the flag signals from a book is one thing, but noticing them in the heat of your first race is a different matter. As this onboard footage shows, it is very easy to miss important signals whilst your eyes are fixed on the track. Did you see the flag on the right? As a racing driver, you must have an awareness of what is going on outside your immediate driving environment. Driving by instinct alone is not acceptable. And remember to avoid the temptation to drive out of your depth, as driving beyond your personal limits will probably result in an accident. It's important to reach the limits of your car and the circuit gradually, and by practicing the techniques we've covered, you will increase your own limits as a driver. So, we've looked at the practical elements that will help you gain your National B racing licence. In part 2 of this video, we'll take a look behind the scenes of a race meeting and guide you through what you will need to do when you enter your first race.